my experience. What Nita's asked me to talk about this afternoon is setting SMART targets. I've been in the room while you've been having your preliminary discussions, and the one thing my thumbs went up like this when one of you said that actually setting goals is very important, and I can't agree with that too much. If we aim for nothing, then we're going to hit it. But we need to make sure that we're aiming for something so that the students and ourselves know where they're trying to get to. When I introduce this session to my students, I talk to them and say, when you leave school tonight at the end of the day, you don't just walk out the gate and start walking. You have a destination in mind. It might be home, it might be tuition, it might be Dolman Mall, it might be Nanny and Nana's house, whatever it is, but you have a destination. Then, once you know where you're going, you can actually set yourself a plan of getting there. If you're going to Dolman Mall, you take a different route than if you're going home or going to Grandma and Granddad's house, whatever it may be. And that's what we need to think about when we're talking about educational goals. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to take you through the session as I would with my students. So our term starts back on the 1st of August, and I will go through this session with all our senior students. I teach in the secondary department, so we use the British numbering system, year 7 to year 11, what you would call your classes 6 to 10. And I do this session with all of them. And so some of them have done it several times before, but it's a good thing for them to do every year. And what I talk to them about is SMART targets. It's not good enough just to have a target. The target has to be SMART, and the SMART stands for something. And it will help us to know whether we have succeeded or not. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's an example. I want more money. Okay, that's a target. I want more money. But have I succeeded if I find 50 rupees in the street? What if I find 500 rupees? How will I know if I've achieved my target? The target is too broad, too wide. It doesn't have enough definition to it. In theory, having 50 rupees more, I have more money. But have I actually achieved anything that I'm seeking to do? Or, this is the one that I use because, as you can see from the screen, I am of the fuller figure and healthy, I think in local parlance. If I want to lose weight, have I succeeded if I lose 2 grams? What if I lose a kilogram? What if it takes me 5 years to lose 2 kilograms? Have I lost weight? Have I been successful? These targets are too wide and undefined for us to know whether or not we've met them. And they're not much more use to us than having no targets at all. What we need to think about is helping ourselves, helping our students set a SMART target. And those 5 letters of the word SMART stand for 5 words, which are up there on your screen at the moment. So a good target is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed. So I'm going to go through now and explain what I mean by each of those words. So S is for specific. Specific means that you have to say what you want to do very, very clearly. Okay? It's not good enough for it to be a wide thing. So what would you like to do, little Ali? Oh, I want to get better at maths. That's too vague. That's not specific enough. It's better if you're saying, I want to improve my algebra. Even better if the child can say, I want to improve solving linear equations and inequalities. We need to make sure that the targets that the students are setting are specific. So back to my losing of weight. I want to lose weight is not specific. I want to lose 4 kilos is specific. Set a target, a clear, specific target of what you're trying to do. So it might be, I want to improve my word power in English. So I want to learn 20 new words every week for 1 month. That might be a target that a child might want to set to improve their word power. So learn new words and their meanings. As I've said, in maths, it might be to improve their algebra and one specific aspect of algebra. It's it should be easy enough for the student and you to find these specific targets, but make sure that they do have a specificity to them. The M is for measurable. That means the targets will tell you exactly what you need to do to succeed. So the example here is taken from sport. I want to be able to run 800 meters faster. So it's specific. We've taken one event from track and we're saying I want to be able to improve my time in 800 meters. But we're not saying how much faster. It's not measurable. Again, if we run it just a 1/10 of a second faster, then we're faster. But have we actually achieved anything? So we might want to say we want to cut 1 second or 1.5 seconds off our time for 800 meters. So it becomes measurable. We know we've hit the target when we have achieved the measured part of it. We need to be able to say how much faster we want to go. We want to say how many more new words we want to add to our vocabulary. We want to say which aspect of algebra it is that we want to improve. So I want to run 800 meters in 2.5 minutes. That's a measurable target. If we run it in 4 minutes or 4 hours, however long it might take me, I know I haven't succeeded. And we can keep going and we can keep improving. It might be that we need to move that target because we might have set ourselves too ambitious a target. I know if I was planning to run 800 meters, trying to do it in 2.5 minutes from scratch is not going to happen. But we might think, right, okay, we've made a mistake there. We've made it too tight, so we're going to reset that. And that's fine. It's absolutely acceptable to change the goal from time to time if either it's too difficult or it might be too easy. You know, we might set that as a target and then set off and think, oh, well, I can do this easily. I need to be I need to be stricter with myself to improve the target. The other one is achievable. So A is for achievable. I'm going to earn £3,000 by next week. It's probably not achievable unless your job is robbing banks. You know, given the exchange rate at the moment, we're talking about many thousands of rupees there. It's not going to happen. Nor is I'm going to run 800 meters in 2 seconds going to happen. They're not possible. So don't let your students set targets that are unachievable because all that will do is dishearten them. Be ambitious, yes. Don't be unrealistic, because if they can't hit the target, if there's no hope of them ever doing it, then it's pointless. And they will just end up frustrated and the whole process will be wasted. So an achievable target has to be something you can do. I'm going to read for 10 minutes every day this week. It's achievable for most people. And that might be, again, a way of improving somebody's word power. So I want to improve my word power and my vocabulary. I'm going to learn 10 new words a week, and I'm going to read for 10 minutes every day to help me use those words. Something like that would work very well. Okay? But make sure that the target is achievable. Relevant. It's got to be relevant to what you're trying to do. So if you're talking about a target for maths, it's got to be related to maths. And we need to then have the facility to make those things happen. So what I'm going to do needs to help me to get where I want to be. And if I want to get fit, finding out about famous footballers won't help. So I can sit and read a book about football and think, oh, I'm getting fitter. But if I don't get up off my chair and run around, I'm not going to get any fitter. So the plan that we have has to be relevant as well. So it'd be more useful if you want to improve your football to do some football practice every day. I'm going to go outside and play. I'm going to practice shooting a goal. I'm going to dribble around cones, whatever it might be, every day or every other day. So the activity that you're choosing then is relevant. And the final part is that it should be timed. If you don't know how much time you have, you don't know when you're going to take action. You don't know how hard to train. If you have again, if you're thinking about sport, if you're going to run in a 10K, if the date is at the end of September, you know how many weeks you've got to go. For our students, it might be the midterm exams or the end of term exams or the end of year exams. All those may be the target. And so we need to know what we're working towards. It might be a completely arbitrary target, none that's not fixed, to say, by the end of this month or next month or the month after, I want to have achieved this. If there is a time on it, that way we will know whether we've achieved it or not. We need to know when the work has to be completed. So I want to be able to run 800 meters in 2.5 minutes by August the 5th of this year. That's a timed, smart target. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's timed. So now we can arrange our training routine. I want to improve my algebra, and I want to be able to solve linear equations. I want to be able to do that by the end of September. So I'm going to practice every other day for 15-20 minutes solving linear equations. All those things are achievable and relevant and timed. So those 5 headings are the important ones. I'm conscious that I've been talking now for uninterrupted for several minutes, so I'm going to stop there. If anyone wants to contribute anything at this point, please open up your mic and have your say. Hello, is there anybody who wants to ask a question or make a comment? Join in the discussion.
Sir, you have explained very well. I
Thank
think
you.
no need to
It's
explain
very
any
well
question.
explained.
Oh, well, just one at a time, please. So the gentleman was speaking first, and then the lady could speak next. That'd be great. Habib, is it? Bibullah?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
go
you have
ahead.
explained. Sir, you have explained very well. I think there is no need any question for any question. Thank
That's
you.
fine. If you understand, that's lovely. Does anyone have a question or a comment even, please? It's not just about asking questions. If you've got something to share that you've used, that's fine. Thank you, Maria. I've seen that, no questions. Anybody want to ask anything or contribute anything?
It's very well explained. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Uh, it was very wonderful, explained very well. My one question is that these targets we can explain to like grade 2, 3 children onwards. But
Oh,
for
yes.
preschoolers and grade 1 students, we cannot tell them that think of a target and it should be smart, because
That's right.
trying to explain to a younger children is difficult. So how could be a preschooler and a grade 1 student be trained so that we can make them bring them to a habit to target something? That's my question.
That is a good question, and I would admit to it not being my area of expertise, because I always work with the 11-year-olds and older. And I would agree, this I would imagine for a younger child is quite complex. I think here you might just want to get them into the idea of setting a target, and you could let them get away with, I want to get better in maths, I want to improve my English, I want to improve my Urdu spelling. So they get the idea that things are that they can set a target, they can have a plan of where they're going. And as they become older, then we introduce more and more of this notion of smart. I've certainly had no issues with this with my year 7s, the grade 6s, class 6s and above. They all get the idea. I've not tried it with our primary school children, but I'm going to talk in our staff development week at the end of July about those class teachers doing something similar with maybe classes 2, 3 and 4, or 3, 4 and 5, whichever ones it is. But yeah, for the little ones, the very little ones, it might just be, I want to get better. Ask them what they think they need to get better in, so they've got an idea. If there's anyone on here who is an early years specialist and wants to contribute, please go ahead if you've got an idea.
For preschoolers and for grade 1 and 2s, I think this is for the teacher to have smart goals. It is not for the students, but it is for us, for teachers, that we understand our students and we set smart goals for us. That
I think
how
that's
they, yeah, for
I'm
and to
sorry to
teach
interrupt you
about
there.
smart goals, it's, yeah, it is just, it's for, it comes with the with upgrades, with the grades, when like for 3, 4, 5 and onward.
Mhm.
But for the smaller grades, for juniors and for preschoolers, it is for the teachers, I think. Thank you.
I think that's a very good suggestion there, that if the children are not at this stage where they can formulate their smart targets themselves, then it's our responsibility to do it for them. And that may be true of older students as well. If they're struggling, there is nothing wrong with us intervening and saying, well, how about this? Or what about that? Or you could try it this way. And that may be because they are a slow learner or they're not getting the idea. This is something that should be an interaction between the class teacher and their students to try and get them, but then note them down. I'm going to show you some ways of noting them down in a little while. Yeah, so Saima, thank you. You're saying the same thing. Setting smart targets for younger learners is a good thing. Right, we'll move on then. So hang on, if I press the right button, we will. There we go. So here are some examples of smart targets that you might draw up with your students. So they might say, oh, I want to get a better grade in English. That becomes achieve a B in English by the end of term. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's timed. I want to improve my spelling. Good. Well, how are you going to do that? I'm going to practice and test key vocabulary and science with my friends and family each weekend until the end of term. So it could be that they're having trouble spelling apparatus and phenolphthalein and all those wonderful words that we use in chemistry that become an absolute nightmare. And so they decide their target will be to improve their spelling, so all their lab write-ups are spelt correctly. Behave better in maths. Well, in our school, we have something called an effort and achievement report. And so every quarter they get a mark from their teacher, not only on their achievement, which is a letter grade based on their performance in class and class tests, but also a number grade for their effort, running from 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. And so we can focus on that report. And when I'm doing the target setting with our lot, that's what I say to, well, think about what you would like your report card to be. So when your report card comes out in October, the end of the first quarter, what would you like your effort grade to be in maths? Oh, I'd like it to be a 2 or a, right. So that's what you're going for. So you're going to behave better in maths. You're going to try and control your tendency to shout out answers so that when you get your effort grade, Mr. Talla, the maths teacher, will think, oh, yes, they've improved. Their effort's really good now. So I'll give them a 2. So another way of using these targets is to link them into your feedback and monitoring and reporting systems that you have in your own schools. We all use slightly different versions. Like I say, we have these quarterly feedbacks for students, and that's a good way for us to set these targets, particularly in the area of behavior. So a student might say, I want to do better. Well, in what way? In what subject? So I'm going to hand my science homework in on time every week. So if you have children who have specific issues, here's a good way to address them. So if you're aware you've got 1 or 2 in your science class who never hand their homework in or only hand it in every other week or every 3rd week, you could get them to set their target to say, right, we're going to monitor this and you're going to make sure you hand in your homework every week. It's one small thing that they can take control over. And if they see success in that, it will help them to be more successful in other areas. So when you set yourself these smart targets, then you're setting yourself up for success. You're making sure that they know where they are going. And like the analogy that I started with, it's very, very important that the students know where they are going, because otherwise they're just wandering around aimlessly and you won't know whether you've got there. And that's true if you set out walking down the street, and even more so if you set off with your education in that way. So that's most of what I want to say.